In this presentation I want to talk a little bit about the roles of personnel who work in simulation centers. Now, I appreciate that many of you, or probably all of you, are actually filling one of these roles, so you could be a bit more well versed in this than me, but I don't think this would be incomplete if I didn't at least talk about this. So my take is there's basically four main roles in a simulation center, and you can see these here. You could also add a research director as well, which I will talk about later in the presentation. You may not have all of these roles. You might combine some of these. Maybe the director does the administrative and the operations manager role. But if you had some of the bigger simulation centers will have these roles. In addition to this presentation, I have also made a sort of Word document where I looked at job adverts on the internet for various different roles in terms of what they did and what qualifications you need and what experience they want. So I've also included that as well, and there might be something useful or interesting there. So the director, this is obviously the person who is in charge of the center, the senior manager who runs it. You guys have a pretty good idea about what that individual does. Here's one thing that came up. So this is kind of, I suppose, more of a civilian hospital example or a civilian medical school example, but should the position be held by a physician? So Christina Still Smoking, which I think is quite an amazing name, thinks that it's not necessarily a good idea to put a physician in a position because they're busy doing lots of other tasks and maybe they can't give the position the attention that it deserves. I thought about this a bit myself, and I talked to a few other people and got their input as well. And I don't think maybe the specialty isn't important. Doesn't matter what specialty of medicine, doesn't matter if you're a nurse or a doctor. I think the main thing is the person has to have some kind of has to be a clinical practitioner, really. So they have to understand what it's like to be a clinician in whatever way that means. And they really have to have, I think the other important thing is they have to have time to devote hands-on to the center. That's clearly really important as well. And they have to be an advocate for simulation. You don't want someone who's just doing this to tick the box in their CV. You want someone who really believes in the process and is gonna fight for resources and fight for people. So the admin director, obviously responsible for kind of the business side of the center to make sure you have money, things are being scheduled properly, developing the opportunities at the center, so all of the business side of things. Operations directors, they're responsible for the day-to-day running of the center. Like it says here, they provide input into the budget when equipment needs to be bought, fixed, scheduled, supervising some of the of the techs. So just day-to-day stuff. So here are some of this is the key role, obviously, that actually allows the center to run, and these are the people that you may have a shortage of. So these are the guys who run the equipment, they run the simulation center, they maintain the equipment, and they're key to making sure that the simulation occurs and things happen. Here is a list of desirable qualities for this role. I mean, there's sort of an amazing array of everything, basically, from an educator to a gadgeteer, I'm not sure if that's even a real word, to knowing about physiology, engineering, being creative, energetic. I mean, there's a lot of adjectives to describe the qualities of these people. Yeah, and if you can get someone with all this, I think that'll be brilliant. I put this in here. I quite like this graphic because even to get my own head exactly around where the kind of simulation professional starts and stops and the clinical educator starts and stops. So this is from a chapter by Kyle and Murray, And I think it's quite nice. So the simulation professional is off stage. They implement the curriculum, so they actually do it. They might write some of the scenarios. They might perform as an actor. I like the idea of the pilots, where they're kind of driving the simulator, and then their role, kind of as their off-stage role, diminishes, and then the clinical education person has more of the on-stage role, where they're perhaps developing, writing the stories. They may also be acting, but they're the kind of navigator. They're performing a different role. They're interacting with the students. They're giving feedback to the students. So maybe the focus is sort of more student rather than equipment focused, if that works. But I think it's quite a nice graphic to show the distinction between these roles and kind of where they cross over and where their focus is. I didn't put this on the first slide, but another possible position is a research director. So their role is perhaps lead the research agenda. Likely even in a big center, not to be full-time, I suppose. But maybe they help provide direction, guide research, lead applications, deal with all of the IRB and ethics issues. I think it could be pretty useful. I think this probably could be filled by a range of people from a range of different backgrounds, be it doctor, nurse, research person, educationalist, and this is really probably anyone who's interested in research. So it could be a pretty useful position to help guide some kind of research agenda for a center. So obviously an additional challenge for many of you is the military aspect of things, where you have people rolling through every 2 to 3 years, perhaps with no experience of simulation, and you have to train them up and get them up and working, which probably takes six months to a year. Then you get a year or so's useful work out of them, and then it's time for them to go again. So it's really hard. I guess it's the same everywhere to maintain that continuity. So maybe you can address this through the use of civilian trainers, but I still think you need some military personnel there who have recent experience to really be able to help design the scenarios that are the issue, today's issue, not yesterday's issue. So you guys are obviously doing this, but maybe train the trainer courses. Maybe you can get together with a number of centers and run a sort of combined train the trainer course, because you may not have enough people just to run within your own center. But if you can combine, and there becomes some sort of broad overarching course, and then people go back and get the specialist training for the particular center they're working in. But perhaps this could serve as a useful and efficient way of really building up expertise in simulation in military personnel as they come through the center. So to conclude, here's all the different roles. You probably know this already, and more than likely you would like people to actually fill these roles and have more people filling these roles than is the reality in your center. And maybe you have to go with part-time positions, maybe people filling positions as a collateral duty. It's not fantastic, but it's better than no people. But I mean, obviously the bottom line here, the most important attribute for all should be a passion for simulation. So they believe in this, they're willing to put the some effort into making it work, and really be an advocate for your center and for simulation more generally within the specialty, the clinical specialties that they work. So thank you very much.